Brendan Dassey trial transcript day 3, page 120, continuing recross of Sherry Culhane. Now, if the entire pair of jeans had been soaked in bleach, you probably expect a little more white, I guess, bleaching stain than what you saw, correct? I don't really recall. All I recall is that the stains looked like they were consistent with stains that would have been left from bleach. I don't really recall how much bleaching there was. And when you were looking for blood, you were looking again visually first? Yes. And did you then swab the entire, even cuffs, to determine whether or not there might be more, I don't want to call it invisible, but blood that you just can't detect with the naked eye? No, there was one small brownish stain on the bottom leg of the jeans that was negative. So other than that detectable color stain, yes. You didn't swab for any other areas? No. Now, you mentioned that there were about 350 submissions to the crime lab in this, yes, case, and about 180 plus just to your lab? Just to the DNA section. Just to the DNA section? Yes. Now, you mentioned this is a homicide case, so obviously I take it that it had a more priority than some other cases you were handling? Yes. And some of the comments you made in questions to myself, and I think redirect to Attorney Gahn, where you had to make decisions what you were going to test further to see if there was a potential extractable DNA sample, correct? Yes. Now, you didn't just decide we're just too busy, just plain busy, we can't do it. That wasn't your reason, right? No. Correct? And you didn't do it because it's too hard? No. Why didn't you do it? Well, again, because what we're doing was, as an analyst, it's my job to take all the information I have on a case and to decide what evidence is going to be, I feel is going to be probative. Again, at some point during my analysis and after my reports are written, if there was more evidence that was felt to be probative by either the submitter or defense counsel, then those requests could be made at that time to further do more testing. You said that this is a homicide case. You're also aware there were allegations of sexual assault? Yes. And would you agree with me that in those types of investigations, testing the bedding is often a very common investigative or a common way of determining if there's any extractable DNA? Yes, it can be. Okay, and again, you weren't asked to look at any bedding? That's correct. No one sent it to you? No, it was not submitted. And you didn't test anything like that? That's correct. Thank you. The court, all right, you may step down unless the state has a 5-minute witness here. We're going to adjourn and reconvene at 1. Attorney Fallon, can you make that about 1:10? The court, 1:10. Attorney Fallon, thank you. Recess had at 11:54 a.m., reconvened at 1:15 p.m. The court, good afternoon. Counsel, your first witness. Attorney Gahn, yes, Your Honor. The state would call Nick Stahlke to the stand. The clerk, please raise your right hand. Nick Stahlke, called as a witness herein, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. The clerk, please be seated. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record. The witness, Nick Stahlke, S-T-A-H-L-K-E. Direct examination by Attorney Gahn. Mr. Stahlke, where are you employed? Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory in Madison. And what is your position there? I'm a forensic science training coordinator. And what is your formal educational background? I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry and medical technology. And would you please summarize your current duties and responsibilities at the State Crime Lab? As a forensic science training coordinator, I'm responsible for coordinating the teams of individuals that go out and process crime scenes, and I'm also responsible for the training of those teams to respond to those cases. And how long have you been at the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory? 15 years. And during those 15 years, was there any time period that you were involved in the interpretation of blood stain patterns? Actually, the entire time that I've been at the State Crime Lab in Madison, I've been involved in bloodstain pattern interpretation. Have you attended any specialized schools for bloodstain pattern interpretation? Yes, I have. And would you just describe some of the schooling you've had for In 1988, I attended a 40-hour course in basic bloodstain pattern interpretation. In 99, I also attended an advanced course in crime scene processing, which had a component of bloodstain patterning interpretation. And I've also been to or attended workshops involving the examination of clothing with stains. And could you, what skills and experience do you have in blood pattern analysis? Well, I've been examining scenes and clothing for the past 19 years. I had 5.5 years at the State Crime Lab in Idaho prior to my being employed with the state of Wisconsin. So for the past 19 years, I've examined scenes and see whether or not there's any information that we can gain from interpreting those stains at crime scenes. And then any clothing that has been submitted to the crime lab that has blood stains on them to determine whether or not there's any additional information that can be gained from an interpretation of those stains. And have you given lectures or taught on this subject that's related to blood stain pattern analysis? Yes, I have. And you stated you've been involved for 19 years with blood stain pattern analysis. That's correct. Have you ever testified in a court of law in Wisconsin as an expert in interpreting blood stain patterns? Yes, I have. And how many times? Approximately 10 times in interpretation of stains. And have you ever been rejected as an expert in this area? No, I have not. I'd like you just to take a moment and, well, first I'm going to ask Mr. Kratz to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 165. And if you would please identify that for us. And what is that document, sir? This is my curriculum vitae. And is that basically a summary of your training, education, and experience in blood pattern analysis? Yes, it is. Thank you. Now, I would ask you to just explain for the jurors the type of determinations that can be made from blood stain patterns. Interpretation of stains, blood stains, can help in determining the victim's placement, the suspect's placement, whether or not the victim has moved since bloodshed has occurred or it began, or it can also give some indication of whether or not the suspect has that there's been any movement from the suspect. It also can give us in some indication of the types of weapons that may have been used or the instruments that were used in the assault, and it can give us some indication of the manner in which those blows or the types of how the blood actually has been deposited. One of the valuable things of blood stain pattern interpretation is trying to determine the difference between to distinguish the difference between a suicide and a homicide. Are there different types of blood stain patterns? Yes, there is. And what are they briefly for the jury? Basically, there's three categories of stains. You have passive stains, projected stains, and contact stains. I'm going to put up on the screen an exhibit that has already been introduced into evidence. It's Exhibit 141. And this is a photograph, which you'll see in just a moment, of Teresa Halbach's 1999 RAV4. Do you recognize this vehicle? Yes, I do. And when did you first see this vehicle, Mr. Stahlke? It would have been on a Monday, November 7 in 2005. And where was the vehicle at that time? This is in the center bay of our garage at the State Crime Laboratory in Madison. And did you have an occasion to examine the interior of this vehicle for any type of blood stains? Yes, I did. And exactly what did your examination consist of initially? Basically, the examination of a case for blood stains is to a visual examination, and in this particular case, I observed blood stains in the front passenger compartment of this RAV4. And what type of blood stains did you observe in this RAV4 in the passenger compartment? In the front passenger compartment, I saw a contact transfer stains, and I said that as one of the categories of contact transfer stains is those stains that have a bloody object that has come in contact with the non-bloody surface. I'm going to now show you what has already been marked as Exhibit 142, and I also identified by Sherry Culhane as a photograph of Teresa Halbach's vehicle from the crime lab. And do you recognize this photograph? Yes, I do. Mr. Stahlke, is the laser pointer up there? I do not see one. Okay, we're going to look for that now, but what does this photograph depict? Well, this is the driver's compartment, front, or the seat with the door open. And did you observe any type of individual contact transfer stains in this area? Yes, I did. Okay, I'd like you to point out to the jurors where you found these stains. Right here on this front driver's seat, right here. And how did you describe that? As what type of stain? That would be a contact transfer stain. And what do you mean by a contact transfer stain? Be the type of stain that's deposited when a bloody source has come in contact with a non-stained surface. And I'm going to just show you now what has been previously marked as Exhibit 144. And this is a photograph also of Teresa Halbach's RAV4. Can you describe or show any other contact pattern stains that you observed in the vehicle for the jury? This image is of the passenger's front compartment or passenger seat with the front door open, and I also saw contact transfer stains right on the front edge or on the left edge of that front bucket, bench seat, or bottom of the seat. There's also stains on this plastic CD holder. And again, what type of stains did you find on that, in those two locations? Again, these are all contact transfer stains. Are these stains consistent with being left by a person who would have a bloody hand, shall we say? Yes. I'm going to now show you what has been marked as Exhibit 143 and ask you to describe if you observed any contact blood stains in this photograph. Yes, I did. Point it out to the jury, please. Right here, right below. Here's the ignition to the RAV4 right here, and this is just down and to the right of the ignition. And again, that is the type of stain that is left by something that has blood on it coming in contact and leaving the stain. That's correct. I'm going to now show you what has been previously marked as Exhibit 89 and identified as a cut. A photograph of a cut to the middle right finger of Stephen Avery. Do you see that? Have you take a look at that, please? Seen that before, correct? Yes, I have. Is that cut that you observed to Stephen Avery's hands, is that the type of bloody object that could leave the blood pattern that you observed by the ignition switch of Teresa Halbach's car? This type of cut would be a candidate for the type of bloody source that could have left that blood stain or that contact transfer stain. I'm going to show you now in what has been previously marked as Exhibit 145 and ask if you can identify that photograph for us. Yes, I can. And is there a blood stain in that photograph that you observed? Yes, this is actually a photograph of the right rear passenger side door, and there's a stain right here that is I consider a passive drop. And when you say a passive drop, where we have zoomed in on it, what do you mean by a passive drop? This is the type of stain that if you have a bloody object and there's enough blood on that object that it will drip or fall to the ground when gravity is the only thing that is influencing that particular blood stain or blood droplet that hits that impacts that surface. And again, could a passive drop such as this be left by someone who has a cut to their hand? Yes, it could. Based upon the combination of blood stain patterns that you observed in the passenger compartment and here at the rear passenger compartment, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty whether these combinations of blood stain patterns were left by someone who was actively bleeding? Yes, I do. And what is that opinion? That is indeed what probably happened. A individual that is has a wound of some sort and taken all these things into combination or consideration that they were left by somebody that was actively bleeding. Now, did you also examine the rear cargo area of Teresa Halbach's car? Yes, I did. Okay, and I'm going to show you what we have previously marked as Exhibit 146 and ask if you recognize that area. Yes, this is an image of the rear cargo area of the RAV4 that I examined on November 7. And did you observe any blood stain patterns in this area of Teresa Halbach's car? Yes, I did. And would you point those out for the jury? Right along this right, the molding, plastic molding, just behind the right rear passenger side seat are a series of stains. We're going to zoom in here a little bit for you, Mr. Stahlke, and again describe for the jurors what actually you're observing here. All these stains fall in the category of a contact transfer in which a bloody object has come in contact or with a non-bloodied stain surface. And in this particular case, we've got some characteristics within that stain that are unique. These stains right here have a elliptical pattern. In other words, they look like they're half circles, and they have the appearance of if you would take spaghetti and put spaghetti sauce on and then flip it out on a tabletop or something on that order or on the edge of your plate, you could see that there's strands of and then take those spaghetti off that surface, it would leave the characteristics of these particular stains. And they're characteristic of and typical of bloody hair that has come in contact with that surface. Is that in your field sort of a classic pattern that you see left by bloody hair? When I see a stain like this is definitely a classic stain, and it indicates a strong likelihood that is head hair that has been bloodied and then that has come in contact, transferring that blood to that surface. Did you observe any other type of blood stain patterns in this area of Teresa Halbach's vehicle? Well, there's an additional contact stains or transfer stains here, and those are in general in description because they're just a bloody object that's come in contact. There's also some light transfer stains on the carpeting, which are consistent with a swipe pattern. Now, a swipe pattern is a an object that has blood on its surface and it indicates movement and it transfers then that blood from the bloody object onto a non-stained surface.